So in a recent interview with JJ French, Rudy Sarzo talks about the development of Randy Rhoads' sound, and he explains that when Randy was with Quiet Riot, he didn't have his full-fledged voice like he did when he went on to play with Ozzy. And here's a quote from Rudy Sarzo, quote, "Randy did not become the Randy Rhoads as in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame guitarist until he joined Ozzy. I know this because I asked him, hey, how did this happen? And he said, well, I asked Ozzy, what do you want me to write? And Ozzy said, be yourself. And that's when he felt safe to, all of a sudden, put classical influences into his compositions." Sarzo goes on to say, "We never had that before, and Randy had it inside of him, but it would not fit with what Quiet Riot was as a band. It fit with Ozzy, but not with that version of Quiet Riot." Now, I feel that this is a very interesting insight into Randy's development as a player, and I think that it is even more interesting when you compare it with some things that Bob Daisley has said over time. Now, Bob Daisley was the bass player in the original Blizzard of Oz, which was the name of Ozzy's solo band. When Ozzy made Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, the original four members were going to be called Blizzard of Oz. It wasn't going to be called Ozzy Osbourne. And Bob Daisley was the bass player. He worked very closely with Ozzy and Randy to arrange the songs, and he generally had a heck of a lot to do with how those albums sounded. Now, Bob Daisley has given a recent interview on the Johnny Bean podcast where he talks about Randy's development as a guitar player, and specifically in regard to the song Diary of a Madman, where Randy's classical influences are quite on display. So let's listen in to Bob Daisley talk.
As Randy was, everywhere he went, he'd find a classical guitar teacher, and he was practicing a piece called Etude that his tutor had given him, and he was turning that into an intro for a song. So it was an embellishment or an elaboration of the etude exercise that he was doing. And I'd already named the album Diary of a Madman, but we didn't have a title song. We didn't have a song called Diary of a Madman. So when we started, Ozzy wasn't at the rehearsals or at the writing sessions a lot. He was dealing with personal issues at that time, and was often not there. So that day when we started Diary was it was just Randy and me and Lee. And once we started to get into it, because it had weird timings and changes, and I thought it's a bit nuts. So this might be good for as the title track, Diary of a Madman.
Okay, right there, Bob Daisley lets us see an inside glimpse into the creative process of the band, where Randy has been studying classical guitar, developing a study that was given to him by his tutor, and then Daisley and the rest of the band developing that into the title track of the Diary of a Madman album. Conspicuously, Ozzy isn't present, but we know that he would have contributed a lot to the vocal melodies once he came back in, although Daisley goes on to say in that same interview that Lee Kerslake was providing the guide vocal to the song in Ozzy's absence. Now, what I bring this up for is because I think that Randy Rhoads represents a very unique case in guitarists, in that he was literally discovering his voice and his sound when he was doing his first recordings and being a member of his first high-profile band. Yes, Quiet Riot was a pretty big band, but Ozzy was super high-profile. What we're getting a vision of when we listen to Randy Rhoads is a genius guitar player who was at the very beginning of developing his voice, and even more importantly, part of that development was his involvement with Ozzy Osbourne's band at the time, called Blizzard of Oz. Were it not for the vehicle of the band, Randy might not have found his voice like he did in hard rock. Were it not for his association with Bob Daisley, were it not for his association with Ozzy, were it not for Ozzy telling him, just be yourself, he might never have broken into that particular voice. He may have gone on to be a great classical player. He may have gone in to be a great guitar teacher, but he would have never hit these peaks of hard rock and heavy metal playing that he went on to attain. So I think that the Bob Daisley insight into this is extremely important, as is the Rudy Sarzo insight, because Randy, as we know, was not only one of the most gifted guitar players out there, he was one of the most driven. And the fact that he was looking to take a guitar lesson in every single city where Ozzy's band played, whether there was a qualified teacher or not. Some of the interviews talk about how it really ended up being Randy teaching the teachers, but he was so dedicated to the guitar that he fit a lesson into his schedule as a touring rock musician every single time they stopped in a city to play. This is beyond dedication. This goes to the level of obsession, and that's what it takes to be a full-flown genius like Randy Rhoads. Unfortunately, we only got a glimpse of his genius because he was only beginning when tragedy struck. This is what I think, but what really matters is what you think. So if you have an idea about this or any other topic connected to classic or contemporary music, please drop it in the section below, and remember to like and subscribe. Also, check out the join button that's available now. If you choose to become a channel member, you'll gain access to members-only polls, members-only badges, members-only videos, and other cool perks you'll see when you click on the join button. You can also help support the channel by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link, going to the Buy Me a Coffee site, and leaving a donation. Every little bit helps this channel stay strong. Thanks a lot.